Hello guys, this is what I read in July. So I read 8 books this month. I read 15 books this year, so 8 were in July. I can say that I was in a reading slump at the beginning of the year. Yes, I didn't read that much, and I read 8 books. That's massive for me. But yeah, we're gonna talk about a little bit of them. I'm gonna tell you what my ratings are. Let's talk about some books. Finlay Donovan is Killing It is the first book in this series, and I mean, this is a comic book. You're not supposed to take it seriously, and I understood that. It was just a fun read. It's not something that is gonna change my life. It's not supposed to do that. So I gave it like 3.5 stars, and I actually did like it. I will read the next book in the series somewhere in my life. Basically, this book is about a single mom that just got separated from her husband because he cheated on her, and then she gets involved in a murder. That's it. I'm not going to tell you much about it because it's more fun if you go to it like kind of blindly. But it gets crazy. It does get crazy. I started the month with a book called Knife Meditations After an Attempted Murder. The author talks about how he was stabbed, yeah? And he tries to understand the reason behind why he was stabbed and tries to understand his attacker, basically. And it's a really interesting story. It's sad, it's weird, it's something different. I think I gave it like 3 or 4 stars, something like that. I think it's really interesting, but the book lacked something else. And I don't know exactly what was it, but that's why it's not like a 4 point something for me. But still, I recommend it. Next book that I read this month was Small Things Like These. I was unimpressed. I don't know why. I think it was just not the book for me. There's nothing specific that I didn't like. There was just like, I was reading and I was like, okay, this is it. I don't know. I thought it would touch me a little bit more on the heart, but it didn't. For some reason, am I cold-hearted? Maybe. I mean, I don't think so. I cry every day for the most pathetic reasons, but the book didn't click with me and I need to accept it. There's nothing wrong with the book, it just didn't click. Sometimes it's like that. Third book that I read this month was Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. Again, I didn't love it. I gave it 3 stars. I think it's a really good book to read in your 20s because it comforts you a little bit, because the author tells her experience with love, with friendships, with life. Everything is not perfect because you're becoming a 30-year-old. Like, your life is gonna be a mess still, you know? I thought it was gonna be more an advice session on how to love other people and yourself, but it was totally not that. It was just her experience with everything like that. So, I don't know, my expectations got me a little bit. That's my own fault, but it's a really good book. It flies by so fast, and it's just interesting hearing about her stories. It just is. So yeah. Then I read The Housekeeper and the Professor. This is a Japanese classic, and this book talks about a mathematician that has Alzheimer's, and his memory only lasts for 80 minutes, and he only remembers till some, I don't know if it's the first 40 years of his life, 30 years, something like that. And from now on, he just remembers present moments for 80 minutes, and then he just forgets it all over again. This book revolves around the relationship between the housekeeper, her son, and the professor, and it's so cute. If you want a heartwarming story, read this one. Again, it's just, I read it so fast. In the first few pages, I wasn't really getting into it. I don't know why. I think it's because it talks about maths, and I don't love maths. Besides that, it's just a really good book, and I recommend it. Another book that I read was Things You Only Can't See When You Slow Down. I think it's something like that. Oh my god. No.
Nope.
Not the book for me. I think it was too obvious. He wrote things that were too obvious, and they didn't feel life-changing to me, at least. And I think the book is supposed to be a little bit life-changing. That's why it's a self-help book. And it just didn't click. Didn't bring anything new to the table to me, so would I recommend it? Maybe to read some passages, but the entire book? No. Then I read this book, Taste for Poison, 11 Deadly Molecules, and the Killers Used Them. Molecules. Oh my god. That word for me is not it. It's about people that use chemicals in any way, shape, or form to kill people and how they work on the body. Why are we killed by them? The last few pages of this book just basically summarize the entire book because it tells you how can you use the substances to kill people basically and how they work on the body, but like in just 5 pages. So I think I would rather just read that and then watch the documentary about the people that used the chemicals, you know. But yeah, it's an okay book for me. I think it's really interesting if you like these kinds of topics, so I would recommend it still. This month was the month that I read Funny Story by Emily Henry. It was my first Emily Henry book. I decided to read this one first because the premise looked a little more interesting to me. I don't know, I loved it. I loved the banter between the characters, and I knew that's what she's famous for, is like the banter, the conversations between the characters are really good. I just didn't love the last few pages. I thought it was a little bit dragged out. She could have ended the book with less 50 pages, but I feel like that about a lot of books, and romance books specifically. I love the book, especially like the beginning to the middle of it was really interesting, really fun to read. I caught myself laughing a few times, and I think I will try another book by her. This is the last book that I read in this month, and this is a Portuguese book, so if you know Portuguese, like the language, please read this one. If it has a translation, I'll leave it down below. The title is Till the End Doesn't Come. This book has 2 narratives. There's one reality where a writer is writing a book and his characters become a reality in his world, and he has to deal with finishing the book, the death of his girlfriend. He has to deal with the characters becoming a living thing in his reality. It's a fantastic world. It's so unique. I haven't read anything like this, so please read this one. Okay, this is my July wrap up. I don't know, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please subscribe, leave a comment, and tell me what you want to see from me next. Yeah, that's it. Bye. Sweeping it under the rug.